Ready to revolutionize your higher ed marketing game?
Yes.
Well, then don't miss out on Element 451's Engage Summit, June 27 and 28. Explore the cutting edge world of education and AI technology and unleash your creativity like never before. Register today at engage.element451.com and use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off. The global gathering for educators and institutions is here. Anthology Together is where inspiration, connection, networking, and EdTech insight and innovation intersect into the premier event destination for the global education community. Registration is open. Go to anthologytogether.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Salustio back with you here on another episode of EdUp. One of my elusive guests, as I call them, where you schedule, then they cancel because of a sick kid, and then I have to cancel. I think I canceled first, actually, because I had a sick kid or kids, I think, at the time. Takes a while, but eventually we get there. We have to align some schedules, and it's like taking your at bats in baseball. You're never gonna hit every one, but we eventually get it right. What's happening in the news today? If you've been watching, one interesting fact came out for those of you that are familiar with the Common App. Common App came out with a report that says that the majority of transfer students are not from the lower income communities. They are your wealthier students that are transferring, between wealthier institutions, if you will. What an amazing phenomenon. The article was written as if we couldn't figure that out, as if we didn't know what we were doing in higher ed, that you would have your wealthier students transfer to colleges and universities that apparently have low admit rates, which of course, what's a big problem in higher ed is it's who you exclude that somehow gives you some level of authority or brand, not who you include. That ain't going to work here on the EdUp Experience podcast. We're about including as many people as we can. One of the people we are including is actually the CEO, president of one of my favorite institutions in the U.S. I'm going to bring him on the mic right now. He's Jordy Hyland. He's the president at the American College of Education. Jordy, what's happening?
Not much, but appreciate you having me on. I'm really looking forward to this discussion.
Well, Jordy, if you didn't know, then you haven't been listening. And why would you be listening to this episode? But if you are listening to this episode, then you would know that Jordy was a guest. We had his episode come out now, what will be about 4 weeks ago when you hear this. And he got to talk all about the American College of Education. And one of the most unique things about ACE, Jordy, is that you don't do any Title IV. And that all the students are as a pay-as-you-go model, which, as we talk about who you include, hey, if you want to pay and you have the potential to succeed academically, I know ACE can help you.
For sure. No, and I appreciate you saying that. And I think, we think of ourselves as a very differentiated model and really just trying to provide a great service to students.
Speaking of differentiation, this is a hot topic. How do you differentiate your model if you don't have something so clear as not being a Title IV campus, like Jordy has at ACE, then you are a Title IV granting institution. You have programs just like the next school has programs. You probably have the same programs or like programs. What sets your institution apart? What are you doing different? And why should you do something different? And how do you tell your story? If you can't answer those questions, then you probably won't have as many students as you want to have. And that brings me to why my guest is here. I'm asking, hint, hint, hint. He's going to answer all those questions and more. Here he is, and I'm going to hope I get his name right. John Azoni, a beautiful last name, by the way. Owner and executive producer at Unveiled. John, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks. Thanks for the introduction. You nailed my last name. Thanks.
Nice. Mine's Salustio. You know how many people don't nail that? So I'm used to it. But I appreciate it when they do. John, talk to us about what Unveiled is, what you do, how you do it, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. Yeah. Unveiled is my video production company. And we work with, we decided to focus specifically on higher education and working with higher ed marketing teams on helping them automate their video storytelling. Because I've worked in video production for over a decade, and I know that a lot of different clients in different industries have this problem of wanting to put out more volume not only more volume of videos, but more quality, more like emotional storytelling. But there's roadblocks in the way. So we've created a subscription model that kind of removes a lot of those roadblocks. We help find the stories to tell. We assign a crew to that school to do. We shoot a year's worth of content, and then we just drip that out every month to the school. So it's a whole package of videos. They'll get 11 videos per month, so like one full story, and then a bunch of like repurposed content that they can use from that story every month. So it ends up being like 132 videos per year. And, you know, we take care of all the nitty gritty scheduling and stuff like that marketing teams hate to do. I think that's probably one of the biggest barriers to video production, is just all the cats you have to herd. So we've developed a process that kind of makes that easy. And yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, so here's the first question I have. Out of everything that you said, those details are amazing. I want to talk about all those. But you said you decided to focus on higher education. That is very atypical of a company in most of the general sense, because higher education comes, first of all, let me just say, marketing and higher education across the board, and I think there are exceptions, doesn't necessarily have the oomph or the seat at the table that it has in other industries. Marketing is at the table. Everything's being driven through marketing. In higher ed, marketing has been an afterthought, and I think until recently, universities and colleges didn't even feel they had to do it. So really focusing a business in higher ed with that, and then two, there's barriers, there's funding barriers, there's, I don't know, wants and need barriers. It's slow moving, or can be, the decision, the sales cycle. Why did you decide to get in and focus your business within higher education?
A couple of reasons.
Now that I laid out all the reasons you shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now I'm going to change my whole business model.
Yeah,
No longer
no.
higher education. No, a couple reasons. One, I worked at a production company for over a decade, where I was creative director for most of that. And we had a few different colleges that we worked with, Ross School of Business at University of Michigan, and then some smaller colleges. And I just kind of noticed the pattern of the type of stuff we were doing for them that was effective, which was the, you know, student stories, like student success stories. And I liked doing that stuff. And then at the same time, I had a freelance client, which was Baker College here in Michigan. And they were giving me so much work that I eventually was like, I gotta go do my own thing, I think, here. And so I naturally was like, all right, well, I've got Baker College. I'll try to get, you know, do more of that and see if this need kind of translates to other schools. And it turns out it did. As I started having conversations with marketing teams, what I really wanted to do was like not just start guessing, you know, just start like sending emails and saying, hey, anyone want video? Anyone want video? But I really wanted to like talk and get data from you know, marketing directors at colleges on what is actually their problems, and you know, how can someone come in and help. And so in those conversations, realized that just automating this process of storytelling was going to be the key, and that I could have a place there. And then really that a lot of schools are wanting to tell more stories, and they realize that they're not doing it enough. You know, as you're saying, marketing is kind of coming more to the forefront in higher education. And with that, I think a lot of marketing teams are starting to see and understand why their traditional view of marketing wasn't working or isn't working. And which would be just like kind of like pitching the school to students. Here's all the features and benefits. Here's where small class sizes, we have great professors and blah, blah, blah. But those are the same things that everyone else is saying. And so now they're saying, well, how do we differentiate ourselves? And storytelling is one of the ways that you can do that, because you know, when you have a student or alumni that's sharing a very specific story around some area of impact that the school made on their life, like no other school can claim that story. And you know, and so it resonates emotionally, and it's just something I'm passionate about. So that's been I originally started with higher education and nonprofits, because I had done, and I still do, a lot of work with a nonprofit that does pro bono legal services for human trafficking survivors. So I tell a lot of human trafficking survivor stories. And then just decided, let's focus on one.
Well, good for you, by the way.
Yeah.
And Jordy, you'll get a kick out of this. When I came to Lindenwood, I mean, in my career, it's been a very non-traditional career. I've worked both for-profit, nonprofit, and I came into Lindenwood, which already was thinking about upping its marketing budget. And somebody asked me, well, how much should we spend? And I said, well, it's about, if you look at it all in, admissions, marketing, so on, maybe like 20% of your gross revenue you really want to think about for marketing. And you can talk about jaws hitting the floor. Because that you couldn't, people here in a traditional sense, those that were in a traditional nature and come up through the traditional ranks could not understand that. $1 million budget or a $500,000 budget and you're $100 million institution made sense to them. And I said, it should be 20 million. And they went, what are you talking about? That's insane.
Yeah.
But Jordy, you asked me, how are you going to know it's your turn? And so I brought this in for you.
Now it's your turn.
Oh, my turn. Okay, that's
I just wanted you to know.
Thank you.
So I brought
Great. Well, so it's a good segue actually, John, because you mentioned the data and how you work with the prospective clients to help them understand the data. And I assume there's a lot of discussions, as Joe mentioned, around what scale of investment and the impact of storytelling. So love to hear more about just how I guess the types of data that you look at and how you think about articulating the impact of the storytelling to clients.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe data is a bigger word than what it was. It was really just me having phone call conversations with a bunch of marketing directors at different schools, but really trying to figure out what their, mainly what their pain points were. And so that's kind of where I started. And something surprised me. And then and then some things were just confirming what I already felt like would be the case from working with I think a lot of marketing teams have common pain points when it comes to video, as other organizations in any industry.
True.
It's expensive. It can be expensive. It's a pain to hire a video vendor. That video vendor comes in, it's not going to understand your brand, right? It's always a risk of like, I'm going to spend all this money and then get this video, and it's like, it's not right. It's not, So, so I mean, I wanted to, I really wanted to know those things going in, so I wasn't just spinning my wheels, as a business owner. And so really built the business kind of around the things that I learned in those conversations, which were super helpful.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Go back to this 1 year's worth of content. So if I get the model right, do you go in over a period of time then, and you're recording just countless hours of video, and then you're chopping it up over another period of time, putting it into some kind of social media or a release schedule of? Can you talk more about how you actualize and get to that point?
Sure. It's 12 stories for the year. So the school will locate, 12 stories they want to tell. So it's 6 days of production. We'll shoot 2 stories in a day. And so we typically will do 3 days at the front of the engagement, try to group them together. So we want to make it easy so that we're all of us are just putting in the work in one sort of bubble of time. And we're getting a lot of return out of that, rather than every month wondering what we're going to shoot that month.
And when you say story, is this a student story? Is it like a student journey that you're so an individual student journey is a story?
Yes. Student impact story, alumni story, alumni that are out doing cool things, starting businesses, and that kind of stuff. The stuff that prospective students would watch and be like, oh, I want that to be my story.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we shoot half of them. So 3 days of production, 6 stories in the first half of the year, and then we save the other 3 days of production for midway through the engagement, just in case we need to kind of like course correct a little bit, or messaging changes and things like that. And also it kind of alleviates, like, it would be very overwhelming for a school to go from 0 to finding 12 compelling stories. So that's how that works. And then so we have all that content in the can. We do an interview with the student or alumni. We shoot a lot of B-roll, the extra footage that fits with what they're saying. And then we have that stuff in the can, and then we're just editing all year long. So every month they get the first of the month they're getting this full like 2 to 3 minute story, and then they're getting a 30-second cut down of that and a 15-second cut down of that for social whatever. And then we'll take like eight or 10 of the questions and repurpose those into like extra content. So we'll talk about things. We'll ask them, it's like, while we got you sitting here, let's ask you about scholarships. Let's ask you about career development opportunities, housing, whatever it is. We work with the school on what those things are that they like to promote. And we ask the student that specifically for these topical videos. So they get 8 of those. Just student after student, just kind of touching on the same things that they want to talk about. So I have University of San Diego Knaus School of Business that we just broke ground with a few weeks ago. One of the ways that they're using those topical videos is they're going to collect a lot of them and then create these sort of mashup videos to where it's like, okay, let's get 6 of these students talking about scholarships, and then it's just boom, 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 kind of cutting back and forth. So we really work with the school to customize the arrangement so that it works for them and works for their internal video team, works with what they're already trying to do rather than against what they're trying to do. So yeah, does that make sense?
All right. Well, that was impressive.
I do. It makes a lot of sense. And Jordy, I'll pass it back to you in a sec, but I just want to note, as somebody who is over marketing at their institution here, I do all enrollment in marketing. Video is hard. And it's it's what is it that I want to shoot? What is the investment of my team? Even if we can get all of that done, getting it produced and then getting it right, and then it goes in and out, and all of a sudden it's a month later or 2 months later, 3 months later, it's like the whole point of why I wanted the video is now gone because something has changed and my team's, so getting it flipped around and getting it cut up, because that will happen to me. It's like, oh, I've got this 2-minute video. I really like it. Can you cut this down into a 15-second or 30-second? Oh, well, we've got to reformat this or redo that. It can get very frustrating. And the future is video, right? Everybody's on TikTok. Everybody's on Instagram. You're on Reels and you're flicking it up every 3 seconds. And so there has to be an engaging video to hook you. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents, Jordy, as I kick it to you.
Yeah, well, just on that note, I know it's you always hear about how people's attention spans are decreasing, and how it's difficult to tell a story in a shorter amount of time than a longer amount of time, to be concise. So I'd be interested just how you think about the length of your videos to combat those trends.
Yeah, I mean, so we have a structure that is just kind of a sort of a 3-part structure that we try to follow whenever we can, which is there was some sort of old normal, there was some sort of turning point in their story, and then now there's this new normal. So we try to that kind of anchors the whole structure of the longer video let's talk about. And then we're also conscious of like where are they using these. If they're primarily going to use these on a program page, it's less important to like really have some catchy hook or something like that, because the students on that page probably with the intent of considering that program. But if they're just trying to get in the sea of the flow of content and get people to stop, we're really focusing on what are going to be some of those hooks. So for instance, not starting the video with, "Hi, my name is Jessica Sanders and I'm a grad, and this is my major," and blah, blah, blah. That's how so many videos start. Schools love to get their president in there, and then they say, countless times they say, well, we have to have him introduce himself right at the front, or we have to show our logo right at there. I just had a whole conversation with a school yesterday about why it's not a good idea that we show their logo at the front of the video and the back of the video, because like people will see your logo, bye.
Bookend the video with our logo and the website, because they need it, right? But you're absolutely right. Oh, yeah, I'm not interested in this right now. It gives them a reason to swipe right off.
Yeah, so we keep those things in mind, and there's every school is different in how they're going to deploy these videos, but we do try to make them punchy. We try to make them kind of upbeat, lighthearted, and then we do the 30-second cut down and the 15-second cut down, and those inherently will be better for social than a 2 to 3 minute video. But the other thing that we do is we give the school all of the B-roll and all of the interview footage that we shot. And so we celebrate, when they have an internal videographer that can make use of all that stuff, because they can come up with additional social content that's catchier, that's maybe vertical, that's, turned into like a meme card with like the text at the top, and then has something going on in the vertical video, all kinds of possibilities that you can have when you have this nice footage, to work with. So that's kind of how we do some of the stuff with the intent for social and for grabbing people's attention, but we know there's probably a lot more that can be done with that footage in-house as they experiment with their social media strategy.
Got it. Makes sense.
Don't settle for average marketing strategies. Join us at the Element 451 Engage Summit, June 27 and 28, and discover how to harness the power of AI technology in higher ed marketing. Connect with industry leaders, explore cutting-edge technologies, and future-proof your marketing strategy. Use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off. Register now at engage.element451.com. Their premier EdTech event is right around the corner.
Epic.
Anthology Together is the destination for visionaries, educators, and learners ready to unleash the power of education technology. EdUp will be on site for the thought-provoking keynotes, peer-driven discussions, and unparalleled networking opportunities. We guarantee you will leave inspired and connected. You don't want to miss it. Book your tickets to Nashville for AT23, July 17th to July 20th. Register today at anthologytogether.com. What do you do with online schools? A fully online, 100% online school that says, hey, we want to celebrate our students too, but boy, they're in Texas, Florida, California, and Dubai. How do we tell that story?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I haven't ran into that too much yet, where they're all over the place. So I think that's probably on there. I'm sure I will hit a school where it's like they're kind of all over. The schools that I work with lately, their alumni are relatively in the same area, and we try to strategize, grouping them together so that we can get two in this certain area on a day. The challenge though with online schools is like making that look interesting, because the story might be interesting and the impact of the story might be interesting, but what online school looks like is sitting at a computer, and so we don't want like all of the B-roll to just be them, typing, looking at a Zoom call or whatever it is. So we have to kind of get creative about like, okay, what are they doing with that learning? Where does that learning play out in their lives? Does it play out at the place of employment? Does it play out in their homes? Maybe the story is more about flexibility of online school, and so we've done a video where we focus more on the family, and they get to be with their family while they're pursuing this degree with a full-time job. So they have to get online school is its own little tricky beast, but yeah, we try to do our best to and we always customize the scope. If we have to film somebody in a totally different location, that's always an option. It's just a little more expensive that way.
I like what you said though, because you started to tell the story there. If you think about online learning and telling that story, it is as much about where they're doing the learning as it is about that they're doing doing the learning. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Engaging in the learning, right? It's they flipped open their computer at their kitchen table, and 2 hours later they're running by Starbucks and stopped in and grabbed a coffee and flipped open their computer, and then later in the day they're sitting in the car at their kids' dance class, and I'm telling my own personal story, by the way.
Yeah.
And they flip open their computer because they can do work, and I did that for my doctorate. That's how I did it. So that tells a story about it's wherever you are, or it's how you make it. So I mean, I think you're totally right. and it's about intent. How do you intend to use the video that designs that video, right? So are schools aware when they talk to you, like, okay, we want to do video, John, we want to create some videos, and you go, okay, well, where do you want to use these? We have no idea. We're not sure. We just know we need video. Is that how it starts out, or is there more clear intent from the school?
Typically by the time someone is really intent on working with me, they've got a strategy where this fits into, and they've run it by, you know, all the higher ups, and they've gotten, you know, they've said, you know, this is worth considering. I haven't ran into a school yet that was just like, we need video, but we don't know what should be in those videos. We just need people images moving on screen set to a song, you know. I haven't experienced that level of like ambiguity or whatever, but you know, there's varying levels of strategy. You have a lot of schools that really are just trying to, their focus is being more consistent on you know, social media, for example. And so having content to deploy on an almost daily basis, or to schedule out so that they're not thinking about it every day, that for them is a big win. You know, even if that's not like, oh, this is like high converting strategy, you know, it's working, it's you know, but even if the win is just getting the content out there and being consistently in front of prospective students, I think that's it for them. For other schools I've worked with, they're running paid ads, they're running retargeting ads. I worked with a school here in Michigan that it was really interesting. We shot a commercial for them because we do like, you know, we do the stories, but you know, we do commercials and stuff as well. We shot this commercial for them, their business school. It aired on TV, and then they were able to track the IP addresses from people that saw that ad, and then go and serve them ads on social. And I talked to him like a month after we launched that, and he's like, yeah, we've already gotten like 20 new students just from
Beautiful.
that we can pin to that commercial, you know. So you have schools like that are like really savvy. It ranges.
Jordy,
What do you find are the themes that resonate the most in the storytelling? Is it you know, great instruction? Is it the student activities? Is it the job afterwards? What are the stories that you're really trying to pull out often? Are there trends among the schools, or it just varies?
I think well, I think as prospective students, they are looking at school wondering, you know, what am I going to do with this degree, and am I going to get a job? Where can I see myself end up? And so I think those are important. You know, what are people doing with their degrees? But there's a lot of like, there's a lot of the like the why involved. So when my directors are working with you know, interviewing a student, you know, they know to like ask questions that are below the surface. If you have a student or alum in front of you, the obvious questions to ask are like, you know, why did you like the school? Tell me about the professors. Tell me about the class sizes. Things real like sort of features and benefits kind of questions. But what we try to get at is like, what else is there? What is there that's in your head that you're not saying that's going to really resonate with people? So I was sitting with a young woman at Cleary University. We were doing her focus of her story was to market the residence halls, like the dorms that they have, these like cool apartments and stuff. And she wasn't really giving me a whole lot of like emotion, but I asked her, like, tell me something that was a struggle for you, like just real open-ended question. And she started talking about how homesick she was, you know, coming to Cleary, and how just the environment of Cleary, like she felt like she knew everybody on her dorm floor within the first week, and everyone was saying hi to her, and she just felt like she's a really extroverted person. And so that really resonated with her. And so it's kind of those moments that you know, we look for, is like, where are those moments of like vulnerability, you know, that we can include into these stories. And sometimes that's hard. Like sometimes, you know, a good and useful video is just the student saying, I wanted to be a cook. I always cooked with my grandma growing up, so I joined the culinary program at such and such school, and it's great. And I'm going to be a cook when I graduate. There's not. I mean, that's good information, and you get a lot of good visuals out of that. Sometimes we don't try to like force a story. Like, okay, tell me who's gotten terminally ill in your life, then how can we connect that to college?
I don't mean to laugh, but
so yeah, I mean, it's all different. I find like the themes with like online school though are definitely this family, like people with families that are working full time and trying to fit in an advanced degree around that. And so that comes in many forms. We've done a story where there's two husband and wife were full-time police officers, and then the school partnered with the Detroit Police Department to do schools like right there at the police department. And then other times where it's like this one woman, she was just miserable in her job, just completely miserable. She had worked there for like 20 years and she had just had it. And and then the story was really about the flexibility that Baker College allowed her in online school to get her master's degree. And now she's in a job that she loves. So it's kind of
Got it.
Usually those are kind of the themes, at least with online school.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
You know what I like about this, John, and I was talking about this yesterday with a different guest. Higher education, and Jordy, I think you'll agree with this. We've done a really great job of not defending ourselves to the public and the value of a college degree.
Sure.
Oh, my microphone's falling down. This is a professional podcast. Sorry, everyone. But the college degree, the value is being questioned, and it's questioned, and it's in articles, and the stats come around. Meanwhile, the surest path to economic mobility is still a bachelor's degree, but that doesn't seem to matter. Affordability is still an issue. We do know we have to fix things, and there's innovative models out there like yours, Jordy, ACE, but we don't tell the story of why you should still go to college. I feel like that's got to be, when you think about John and your company, you know what, if off the top of my head, why would I hire you right now? It's to tell the story of the value, not only of coming to Lindenwood University, but why it's important to go to college still, because we know people are debating it. I know you're seeing that too, Jordy, and you're probably hearing that, John, right?
Yeah, I think there's now, with like the rise of YouTube and learning that you can get online for free, there are certain degree programs that some people think make less sense. For me, I went to art school, and I look back on that and I'm like, I could have been an artist without going to art school and be a painter and stuff like that. But what I really got from the school environment was the mentorship. And I still have like opportunities opened, like doors opened for me because I went to this specific school, CCS in Detroit. And they're, oh, you're a CCS grad. Oh, awesome. Yeah, let's put you in this show, and stuff like that. So there is a lot, of value in a college degree for sure, that goes even just beyond like specifically what you're learning. And yeah, it's important to tell those stories, because something like mentorship, that's just pivotal, connecting with these with professors in a way that's going to create like a lifelong, valuable relationship there. Stuff like that is a little bit aside from, tactical things you're learning in the classroom, but super valuable.
That's a fact.
Jordy.
Yeah, so I can imagine the videos, the stories that you're telling, they're really helping your clients show the value of higher education and their institution. It sounds like when you're speaking to clients initially, you're helping them solve their challenges, and they're very cognizant of that. Do you think you're dealing with the innovators in higher education that are really trying to show the value and communicate through stories, or do you feel like it's the sort of the standard way of operating it at this point?
Definitely the innovators, and that's really the types of people that I seek to connect with are those that have realized just the typical like intuitive way to market something, which is to say, here's all the reasons why it's great and why you should buy it. That's not always working, and I think there are a lot of schools that are their marketing directors, their whatever are saying like, we've always done it that way, and it's not going to cut it anymore, especially with the enrollment cliff coming and stuff like that. We need to really learn how to tell stories that resonate with people and are going to resonate in this new era of digital. Everybody's scrolling, and like, you can't, you're not just sitting in front of a TV anymore, forced to watch 5 commercials back to back before you get your show back. It
sure.
really is. Everyone's got so many options. And so I think really I am, working with a lot of the innovators that have realized that the old way of doing things is just not going to cut it anymore. And we need to take a more emotional storytelling approach to marketing.
For sure. And when you're working with the innovators, do you, obviously you can point to your other clients, but do you find yourself showing them examples from other industries? Is that helpful to sort of tell the story, or do you just sort of focus on the themes within higher ed?
I definitely bring in, other industry examples that I've used to help solve problems, with clients, because I kind of, I'm working with them and trying to help them get results as well, and for instance, I had a school. We just did a couple of stories they had for their capital campaign dinner. They have a big dinner every night. And one of the stories, they were trying to raise money for a new lacrosse field because the current lacrosse field they're practicing on has like, the ground is uneven, people are tripping and falling, and people are like walking their dogs through there and not cleaning up after them. Yikes. And I put that in the video, and she was like, we can't allude to that at the dinner. Nice. And I showed her this recent, one of my friends posted this Burger King ad that had moldy, it was just a burger covered in mold. And the ad was about like, this is real food. Real food is supposed to get moldy, but like the ad was so disgusting looking that it was just like captivating. And so I sent her that, and she's like, all right, let's do it. And
that's so interesting.
Yeah, and it worked. I just talked to her the other day. She was like, yeah, people loved it. She's like, I'm so glad we didn't cut that part out, because it really solidified why we need a new lacrosse field. It like helps people. How disgusting is that to play in that?
Here's $100,000 right now. Please fix that. No, it's true. I like that a lot, John, and I also like that you do your own podcast too. You want to plug that a little bit and talk to us about it and what you cover?
Yeah, it's called Higher Ed Storytelling University, and it's as the name implies, we talk about storytelling from a lot of industries. I have people from all kinds of industries come, and we kind of try to steer it towards higher ed purposes. But yeah, we talk about storytelling, a lot of content creation, social media marketing, but really kind of vamping, like keep focusing on that, like how to do marketing differently and on a more emotional level. So we have a lot of guests on that come talk about that. So
that's great. I encourage everybody to check it out. Jordy, do you have any final questions for our guest before I give him the final 2 to wrap up the episode?
Sure. Well, last question. Then you mentioned the demographic cliff that's coming, and I know that a lot of people talk about the differences between the generations, and there's a younger generation coming into college, and they've had a lot of different experiences through COVID and in the last couple of years. Does that impact the approach to storytelling to engage with either that younger generation or older learners that are coming back to college?
Sorry, can you rephrase your question?
Well, I guess is it challenging? Do you find it challenging to really have the stories resonate with either that younger demographic of learner that are just coming into the traditional college age, or the older generations that are coming back? I would think they're very different considerations to really resonate with the different age groups.
I got you. Yeah. So yeah, the Gen Z crowd is definitely different from the advanced degree, adult learner crowd. So the Gen Z crowd is they're looking for different things, and they're so sensitive to the attention span stuff. You really have to hook them. But the interesting thing is, once you do hook them, they will go down this rabbit hole of learning more and more and more about you. There's a great book
Oh, wow.
called
Interesting.
Instabrain, which is it's called Instabrain Marketing to Gen Z, and I got a lot of great insights from that about how they differ from the millennial crowd.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a different approach. I mean, in a, you know, really, we're not like, I would say most of the schools that I've worked with so far tend to be more the adult student crowd.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I have a lot of experience, you know, with that, but I think, you know, with the younger crowd, it might be something different that really resonates with them, and it might be getting them into sort of the funnel, or getting them aware through something like TikTok or YouTube Shorts, something more down to earth, authentic, before they're ready for the videos that we're making, which are a little more polished and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely different. You know, we do our best to know like who the audience is and what the context is that they're going to be looking at these from. But yeah, so
makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
John, what haven't we said about Unveiled? Open mic for you. Say anything you want to say, anything we didn't cover, anything you were hoping to say. And then after that, tell us what you see for the future of higher education.
Yeah. I think we've covered everything with Unveiled. Yeah, like I said, it's a subscription model, and then, you know, we've so especially last summer we did a lot of commercials, and so that's another sort of beast, a whole different workflow, and that's fun for us to kind of help innovate and come up with ad concepts with schools. So I would say that, and we're actually starting to get into like a K through 12 space, kind of by accident, which is weird because I've just had some K through 12 schools kind of reach out to me and say like, this looks like something that would be useful, like private schools that would be useful for us. And like, okay, you know, so it's definitely it's a fun gig, and it's been useful in the education space in general. Future of higher education. I don't know.
None of us do. That's okay.
Yeah, I could make up some really lofty answer for you. But
more video, perhaps?
Yeah, more video, definitely more schools working with us, more people listening to our podcast.
Yeah. I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah. No, I think it's but I do think, at least in higher ed marketing, you know, we're really coming around to the idea that we don't need to be so polished all the time. You know, the idea that we're this school, we're buttoned up, and this is who we are, isn't going to really fly so much anymore. People aren't really going to resonate with that all the time. You have a school like Harvard, Princeton, whatever, they're always going to attract people that want a high-end school. They probably don't have to do much, you know, they're always going to have people applying. But some of these smaller schools are really grappling with higher education, a more sort of like high brow form of education, but then marketing that on a down to earth level. I think there's that tension that exists right now, and I think we'll see the scale start to tip in the future, as things like TikTok, the reach on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and things like that is just incredible right now. I have a episode of the podcast that I did with Rob Clark. His family is like this viral family. They're all very tall. They're called That Tall Family. And he does some consulting with higher education as well. And we're just talking, we had an episode just about just the insane reach that schools can get right now from those short form vertical videos, which is not currently what I do.
Right.
So,
currently.
Yeah. So,
Nailed
but
it.
I do really, like, I encourage schools, like, do all that stuff because that's going to get more people into your ecosystem. And then when they're ready to pay attention, having something long form that's like cinematically kind of produced like that is just going to, you know, hit the ball home.
I really like what you said. That's a really unique answer about the because higher ed is academic, and when you get the whole academic speak going, it implies this, I don't know, aloofness perhaps. But we're marketing to people who are the struggle's real kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get in front of them and you can't go to those people and say, well, we've just got quality academic programs. It doesn't mean anything to them when they're at that high funnel point. They're like, can I get into school and get a degree? They'll care later, but how do you get them interested in the first place? And that's something we struggle with, John, and we're glad you're out there. Before I let you go, I do want to say thank you to my first time, but not last time, guest co-host today. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's Jordy Heinlein. He is the president at the American College of Education. Jordy, first time co-host, not last time. How'd it go?
All right. Yeah, no, it was great. Thank you for having me. And John, appreciate the discussion and learned a lot. So thank you. Nice to meet
Great
you.
chatting with you. You're
My
a good
guest
co-host.
today. Yeah, my guest today, your guest today. Here he is. He is John Azoni. I like saying your last name, John. He is the owner and executive producer at Unveiled. John, where do we find you and how can we learn more?
Yeah, I'm at our website is unveiled.tv, and I like to joke that you have to spell it wrong to spell it right, which is kind of ironic in higher education. So it's UNVEILD. And the only reason it's that way is because the correct spelling of Unveiled as a business name in Michigan was already taken. So I said, I'll do like the Flickr thing, FLICKR. Anyways, it's unveiled.tv. We've got some resources. We've got a pricing guide that you can download. We've got a storytelling resource that has that free 3-part framework, a little more further explained, that people can download that and learn more about how we go about telling stories. But I'm also very active on LinkedIn too.
Well, hopefully we've told you a good story today with our combination of guests and host. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, you have just EdUp'd. Experience Element 451's Engage Summit Conference this June and get ready to unleash the power of AI in higher ed marketing. Deep dive into how this emerging tech will revolutionize the education landscape, from personalized student engagement to turbocharging your marketing efforts with AI. These sessions are guaranteed to help you smash your enrollment goals. Connect with like-minded professionals, explore cutting-edge ed tech products and services, and leave with the knowledge to supercharge your institution's growth. Don't wait. Register now at engage.element451.com and seize your chance to lead the pack in the AI-driven education revolution. Use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off your registration. Now, what can you expect at AT23? That's Anthology Together 2023. Well, expect a look into the future, expand your network, and explore solutions with experts. You're going to hear from industry thought leaders. You're going to connect with countless opportunities and people representing different institutions across the globe. You might even get to test out some new tech and help drive future Anthology technology. That's right, Anthology Together. Registration is open at anthologytogether.com.